Consciousness is electrical signals being conducted through or projected onto water. So for us, that's our blood and other fluids in our body. There's no single source of consciousness. It's simply that water is the medium from which electrical fields can be projected onto. So consciousness doesn't take place in our brain, but a third space, which is the medium of water. For example, where you have blood flow is where you have electrical activity in the brain. So if you're recalling information or using motor skills, you have blood flow that increases to those regions of the brain. Water has a lot of interesting properties, including its ability to retain memory and to restructure. Here are some examples of light and water and how they can interact. This is a 3D image being projected into water. 3D images can also be projected over water or on the surface of water. Light can be reflected and then projected onto a wall, or it can stay as 2D on the surface of water. It's able to refract light and do a lot of interesting things with it. But that's just for light. We also have audio signals or vibrations which move through water in different ways. Now those were just some examples of light and water, but what goes on in the body takes advantage of those same properties of water. You have consciousness anywhere in the body that you have liquid and an electrical field. Now we can prove consciousness is a projection onto water very fast with 2 easy experiments you can do in a minute. The first one is stare at a source of light, like a light bulb, for about 20 seconds, or the sun for about 2 seconds. Now turn off the light or look away and close your eyes, and you'll see this after-image phosphene. And a phosphene is a subjective experience of light. So you're looking at this after-image phosphene, and if you start to sway or move your head or move your eyes in any way, you'll notice that the after-image phosphene stays suspended in 3D space in your visual perception. The after-image doesn't actually move with your retina. It moves with the fluid in your body. So when you're looking at it and you're moving your head side to side, you're going to see that it drags behind and it moves beyond with the oscillation of the fluids in your eye. Because you don't actually see with your eyes or your visual cortex. These signals that go into your eye are converted to biophotons, which are then associated with different various cortices, including your visual cortex, and then it's projected back into the water in your body. You can pause to read this whole thing if you want, but light signals enter the eye, transducted into electrical signals, and then when you're actually seeing, they're emitted as biophotons. Just like the lasers we saw being projected into 3D images on or in water. But again, that's just for light signals. So the other way we can prove that consciousness is a projection onto water is by spinning in circles. Spin in a circle for about a minute and then stop moving and you'll be dizzy. The water continues to slosh around in your brain and specifically your ears. Because consciousness is your electrical field being projected onto water, there's not a single spot where consciousness occurs in your body. This is why you're able to feel with your heart or sense with your guts or notice things with various limbs or in various parts of your body because they're all able to emit electrical signals and they all have water. This is also where the idea of shower thoughts come from. If you're in a body of water, whether it's a shower or a bath or a pool or the ocean, your consciousness is going to diffuse because your electrical signals are conducting through water. It's sort of like a mild out-of-body experience because your electrical signals are now connected to this much larger body of water. And the same goes for if you're holding someone's hand. You're actually connecting circuits, and so you can have shared thoughts where you're able to sense or feel what the other person is thinking simply because you're having this connection of electrical circuits. There's actually a few gateways we have in our body in which we emit the most amount of biophotons. It's the palms of your hands in the center, around your heart, and the soles of your feet. Now interestingly, this is where you have the stigmata or the wounds of Christ. You have such intense meditation over many years that the gateways are completely burst open. We'll talk about that phenomena of mystics in a future video. Such things as Reiki and psychic powers and telekinetic abilities are also these electrical fields and biophoton emissions influencing things in your environment. Because biophotons and electrical fields, they encode information, and that information can be picked up by other things, or it can affect the electrical fields of other things around you. I've talked about it before, but there's also biophoton emission from your eyes, so when you have eye contact with someone, you can create a circuit and share information like that. When describing consciousness, I prefer to use the term cenesthesia because it explains the multiple components that give rise to a sense of being or to an experience of self. A blind person isn't any less conscious than someone else, they just don't have that processing input or output working correctly that allows for them to experience that component. And the same is true for organisms that don't have a brain, like a tree or a bacteria. They're still conscious because there's still electrical circuits that are connecting into water. An ego is any electrical circuit, whether it's the solar system, whether it's a community, whether it's an ecosystem, whether it's a weather system, whether it's a person or a tree or a colony of bacteria or a computer. Those all contain egos because it's just electrical signals being input and processed in different ways. The circumstances of your output processing, such as our brains, allow us to experience the way that we do. But it's not any more conscious than something that doesn't have a brain, such as a tree or a weather system. So that's why I prefer the term cenesthesia when describing consciousness. Because of this, group consciousness is possible. So if you have a crowd at a concert or festival or church service, you can have a mass subjective experience. The entire circuitry of all of these people are being combined into one. This is the purpose of ritual. It's to bring people together to kind of blend consciousness to create this ego that they all share. So people in this crowd may experience a vision or some kind of phenomena that other people in a different region of the world is not seeing because their electrical signals are being shared in that group. The biophotons, which contain information, is being transferred in this circuit, so you have this mass ego experience. And again, the same is true with just a single partner. In any exchange of fluids or holding hands and stuff, you're able to blend consciousnesses because the electrical circuits are connected. Blood brothers is another experience of this, when two people cut open their palms and they hold each other's hands and allow the fluid to share. They're allowing the consciousnesses to intermingle. And water, having memory and being a consciousness projector, allows for them to always be connected in some way. Once again, the same thing happens with organ transplants. Personality traits and characteristics of the person donating an organ will be received and integrated into the person who receives that organ. Still, in ancient cultures around the world, there was this idea that you could ingest the blood of something like an eagle or a fallen warrior or a wolf or a lion or something like that and receive attributes from that being, because that consciousness is going to now be part of you. Phantom limbs happen because the electrical field is still there where their limb used to be. It's possible to have a prosthetic connect to that electrical field and allow the person to use or gain control of that prosthetic limb with their conscious attention. Some common ideas are to say that humans are basically supercomputers and the universe is a simulation. The things that we are surrounded with, such as computers and the kind of technology that we have, always informs the teleology of our existence. Meaning, people think it's all computer-based because that's simply what we have around us. But it's more accurate to say that computers are just using what all biological life has taken advantage of, which are the inherent properties of electrical fields, being able to relay information, of light signals, and electromagnetism and whatnot. There's nothing wrong with viewing humans as supercomputers or the simulation theory. It's just that our teleology is always going to be informed by the things that we have around us. The more important takeaway is that because those are just electrical fields and processing information, we're also able to connect to things like computers, because we too are circuits or egos with projection of information and relay and transmitting and receiving this electrical information. I know this whole video was kind of a rapid fire of a bunch of different ideas relating to this, but consciousness is a projection onto water. Water is the medium in which we experience or in which we have a sense of being. Our circuit is our ego, and that's not something that is permanent. It's able to diffuse or blend or connect to others.